Occasionally I hear that old phrase, all publicity is good publicity, and sometimes that is the case, things do work out, but many other times, I think most of the time these days, it does not work. In fact, in the case of Avowed, I'm going to let the numbers do the talking, because obviously the developer behind Avowed, they've been in some hot water recently. It wasn't just the pronouns, it was actual developers at Obsidian being blatantly racist, basically, and not apologizing, but actually doubling down, and just making it kind of clear that the people who are making Avowed, they are clowns, and it's very likely that their ideology is going to trump all. Who cares about a fun game? We've got lessons to share. We've got to educate people. It's just giving people a very bad vibe, very similar to the Veil Guard. I don't think it's actually going to be anywhere near that bad. Like, that's rock bottom. But it's a cause for concern, and I was kind of curious as to how the sales numbers were going to be looking, because I did this for the Veil Guard, and it turned out to be a reasonable bit of data to kind of go off, because Dragon Age the Veil Guard, it's clearly underperformed. There was a bit of cope before release. Oh no, it's going to do exceptionally well, given it's a Dragon Age game. The pedigree of BioWare, surely that means success. Not the case. It seems to have, at best, underperformed. Did worse than Star Wars Outlaws, which it may not have even broken 1 million units. Pretty bad, and EA would have been expecting big things. But throughout Dragon Age the Veil Guard, sort of pre-release, looking at the Steam charts, it was hovering around sort of like 200, number 200. It did eventually break like the top 10, but it took ages to do that, and it didn't mean anything. The game overall didn't sell that well. So I was sort of thinking, is Avowed doing maybe similar numbers on the Steam charts? Well, going through, you may have noticed by now, I'm at page number 10. I'm not in top 200, top 300. I'm nearly out of the top 1,000 games on Steam. And Avowed is nowhere to be seen here. Hasn't even broken into the top 1,000. It is doing worse than The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, RPG from 2006. It's doing worse than that, and it's coming out pretty soon in 2 months. And I remember doing this comparison again with the Veil Guard. It was within sort of like 2-3 months of release. Even that was doing better when there was nothing to get excited about. The game looked hopeless. This was after, of course, the companion reveal trailer, which killed anyone's potential interest in a 4th Dragon Age game. And it's still doing way better than Avowed, like 5-6 times as well. I don't know what the percentage is, but it cannot be good. Like, every game that's doing better than it, if you look here, obscure games that came out 20 years ago that most people have played, you would think, embarrassing numbers. Like, if you look at Avowed and you look at where it's actually ended up, because I couldn't find it in the top 1,000, if we drill it down here, it's currently at number 1,611 in top sellers. Like, these are concerning numbers if you're an Obsidian employee. Like, I would be touching up your resume right now, and when you're applying, you're going to have to put a note in to sort of say, hey, look, I know I'm from Obsidian Entertainment, and as a studio, we've totally fallen off. I promise I'm not going to bring my bad vibes to your studio, wherever these people are trying to work, because I don't think Obsidian are going to be long for this world at this rate. I mean, we saw Microsoft, their owner, they were looking to shut down Tango Gameworks, who I thought were doing some pretty decent work. Like, Hi-Fi Rush, probably not the sort of game that I'd personally be looking to rush out to play, but it seemed like some people liked it, like it was critically received well. Seemed like the sort of game that was perfect for the Game Pass subscription, like where Microsoft wanted to put all these games that no one was necessarily wanting to buy for full price, but they're there, it's content, and if you want to stuff around with their $15-20 a month subscription service, I did think that was the whole point, but they shut them down, which signaled that Microsoft expect sales. It's not just about, yes, we've got players on Game Pass, that's a big tick. That's fine, even though we can't really sort of tie that back to actually making any money. But it seems like Microsoft made it clear with Hi-Fi Rush, these games need to sell. And Avowed is not a seller. It's 1611 on the Steam charts. Totally embarrassing. And things aren't going to get better because I think that it's actually reached its peak hype. Like, a couple of weeks ago, when the previews went out and they were reasonably positive, I even said, like, I've been very critical in the past, but I think Avowed's looking a little bit better. Like, it's not looking good. Don't mistake that. It's just not looking as bad. I don't think it'll definitely be Obsidian's worst game, or I didn't think so. Now things are looking a bit questionable. I wasn't alone in that. A lot of people said the same thing. So that means the hype is over. Like, the honeymoon's over. The peak is over for Avowed. It's only downhill from here, which is exactly what happened with the Veilguard. This is making some people very unhappy, and I find it quite interesting because there's this grifter narrative that gets thrown around now, which is like, you people don't care about Avowed, but you're just talking about it. Even though, like, in the case of myself, I was talking about it like a year ago, like, long time before it ever came out, or there was even much to talk about. I was still talking about little tidbits and things like that, but they'll say, all these grifters, now they're just hating on the game, they didn't care before. But I've actually noticed a different pattern, and that pattern is the defenders. They're people who've never talked about Avowed in their life, but suddenly when someone questions the pronouns or calls out the insane art director who's openly racist, hates the fans, admits that he's trying to design the game in such a way that it's going to piss off Elon Musk, like that's his objective, not making a quality RPG. You get these defenders who come out of the woodwork. Oh, Avowed, I really care about Avowed. I want it to do well. It looks so good. But they never talked about it before, but suddenly they're rushing to its defense. I think that is going on more than the supposed grifting or whatever. If we look here, our friends at Gaming Circle Jerk, they're always here for entertainment. It's great. They make a post, the game isn't even out yet, and already we have anti-woke complaints. Man, I miss the times when this shit never happened. I can agree. I miss these times as well, when games were simply fun, we could enjoy them, we knew the developers were in our corner, trying to make the best game possible. It was a really nice transaction. You make game that is good, that we want, and we give you money. Now it's like, yeah, some good games still come out, but half the time you have these developers who've decided, well, we know some people might buy this game, so there's no reason to make a good one. Let's instead inject our politics into it, and there might be an opportunity to recruit some people, get them on our side of things. That's way more important than making the best game possible. And us as gamers, we're left to try and sort of dig around the shit in hopes we can find that game. Most of the time, you can't. The game's long gone, as was the case with the Veilguard. People saying, oh, mods will remove the bad stuff. Then you're just left with the menu screen. That does not work in this day and age. And if we look at some of the comments here, this is so exhausting and annoying. They're already judging the game without playing it. How many times was that excuse used with the Veilguard? Oh, you can't say it's bad. You haven't even played it yourself. Until you spend that $70, you have no right. You better spend that money. You better find out for yourself. I don't think there's like a single case, especially this year, of a game where like gamers sort of came together and they just looked at it and said, common sense, this game genuinely looks awful. Like everything about it sucks. And then it surprised us. It actually released and it was a banger. It's fantastic. And gamers sort of say, oh, I'm sorry, we made a big mistake here. Don't judge a book before you've actually played. I can't think of a case of that happening. In fact, it's usually the opposite, where you might have some optimism and then you're just disappointed. That is usually the case most of the time. But then the games that actually look good, like for instance the upcoming Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I've seen very little criticism of that. People have seen the footage, they've listened to the developers, they've played the first game, which is where the confidence really comes from. It's about what the developers done before, that's what you should really trust. People are saying great things. No one's making videos criticizing Kingdom Come because, again, people are just using their eyes and ears. They can see what's maybe a red flag and what's actually quality. These people, this community, they don't actually care about games. They're just upset that, oh no, this game with pronouns and obvious agendas in it might fail. That's bad for our political movement. We can't have this. So gamers, stop opening your eyes and ears. Cover them, please, cover them. We need people to buy this. That's their priority. That's what these people care about. They are insane. They do this for every release. The Veilguard, they were acting like, oh, a minority of people don't like it. But look at IGN's review, Eurogamer review. That's the mainstream. As usual, totally wrong. And this continues. These people are obsessed with two games no one cares about, Dustborn and Concord. Now, this is an interesting one because he says no one cares about it. Absolutely no one. But there is a problem there because the whole point of those games is they were meant to appeal to people like you, Gaming Circle Jerk, Reset Era, people on Blue Sky now. They were the target audience, but you didn't care about it, you didn't buy them. Again, it's because you don't care about games. You attach yourself to the games that are pushing agendas like this because you see them as, oh, these could be beneficial, because if these are successful, it's almost evidence that the mainstream society, they're buying our agenda and they want to jump on board. Doesn't matter that gaming as a hobby is the casualty, because suddenly every game is putrid, awful, not worth playing, and kids turn away from the hobby completely because who wants to play this lame crap? They'll do other things. But what becomes extremely clear is, even when these games are catered to you people, you don't buy them. Because when you're not on Reddit, when you're just alone in your free time looking to be entertained, you don't buy this. You don't buy this crap. You know it's just not worth consuming in the slightest. It has one purpose: to try and change people's thinking, get them thinking exactly like you. That would be healthy, right? That would be good for society. You go and play all the same games that we do. You're playing Black Myth Wukong. You're waiting patiently for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. You don't want to play friggin' Dustborn, even though it was for you. Perfect for you. You still did not want it. And here's a bit of an unhinged rant. To use another Obsidian game, for example, I swear to God that if New Vegas was released just today, they'd call Arcade Gannon, Veronica, and Christine unnecessary. Mr. House would just be like Elon Musk, and the NCR would be perfect. I've noticed a pattern in the last few weeks. It's like Donald Trump gets re-elected, so he's no longer like the main enemy, because like he's gonna finish up that second term and then probably be out of politics, so we don't need to focus on him. They seem to have redirected the way of thinking where, like, if Trump's name gets mentioned, like, they literally turn into a red tomato. They've refocused that anger now on Elon Musk. Like, he's the new one where you mention his name, he comes up anywhere, and these people go into a rage and, like, their entire personality shifts completely into, like, this just full-on deranged anger mode. That's going to be Elon Musk now for, like, the next 10 years, I reckon. Anytime he's mentioned, these people are not happy. They call the game woke for giving you the option to be bisexual for 5% more damage to everyone, and the satire on commercialism and the military-industrial complex would go completely unnoticed over their heads. They'd whine that there are no hot characters, that every woman looks like a man, and when it's a success, they'd ignore it, because these people, they're liars, and the reason that fascism is so prevalent, they are sellouts, tourists. I guarantee that Avowed is going to be fire. This is an example of that. These defenders who come out of the woodwork, Avowed's definitely going to be fire. You tell me one thing about the game that genuinely looks good. Even when I made a video sort of saying, hey, it looks a little bit better, there's still nothing you can really pinpoint that's actually good. I just don't think it looked like the worst possible thing in the world anymore. But they've obviously blown any chance of optimism, which is a bit sad for Obsidian. But you can't really point to anything like the combat. It doesn't look good. Looks maybe better than some of their games, but still not really good. The characters, they don't look good. They look awful. The designs are no good. The writing doesn't sound very interesting either. The world, you can't pinpoint anything, but now they're defending it because they think it's now their duty, because the chuds are attacking it, they're going all in, so I need to get my shield up and defend this, even though it's based on absolutely nothing. This is what they do. And when they talk about New Vegas, every woman doesn't look attractive, well, if that's true, I don't blame Obsidian in that case. Like, they used to be good back then. If it's anyone's fault, it's the Gamebryo engine. They have to use Bethesda's good old Gamebryo engine. It's a little bit outdated, can you believe? Bethesda still using it. That's how we ended up with Starfield, so I don't blame Obsidian for that one. These people have clearly never played Pillars of Eternity, and it shows. Fuck off, this game isn't for you, talking about Avowed. This doesn't even make sense, because Pillars of Eternity, both of the games, isometric CRPGs, totally different, didn't do so well commercially, the second one. And that was the whole reason that Avowed is being developed, which is a spin-off that is first-person Skyrim combat they were sort of going for. Like, that's the market they were definitely trying to target originally. They said at the start it was going to be their Skyrim. They've changed that, but long story short, what they wanted to do is target the more casual audience that they thought they weren't getting with the Pillars of Eternity games. So it's like they specifically went in another direction, and they want to target people who weren't interested in Pillars of Eternity. But now you get these people going, oh no, if you didn't play Pillars of Eternity, this isn't for you, fuck off. It's the total opposite. These people, I don't think they've ever been right. I've never read anything, I think, from these people that I've actually thought, gee, that's a good point. You guys, occasionally you get somewhere. It's always wrong. It's quite sad. But we'll end with this one, because Obsidian, they've been getting called out. They've been getting feedback about the insane art director, his comments, and honest, hardworking customers, they want to know what's going on. Like, what are Obsidian doing about this? Like, you've got an openly racist art director. Other employees were retweeting him, obviously agreeing that this is baked into the culture. What are you doing, Obsidian? Well, here was their response. Someone went on to the Obsidian official forums, and they said this: I would like to inquire as to how Obsidian feels about Avowed's art director, Matt Hansen's comments made on Blue Sky. Looking at discussions on various places, thousands of people who are otherwise genuinely looking forward to the game, they're now feeling quite alienated by the comments and will no longer be supporting the game. Since Obsidian has so far remained silent on the matter, I would like to ask how Obsidian feels about this. Does the company stand behind its comments? So did they give a professional corporate response to sort of try and, hey, let's try and do a bit of damage control here? Did they lock the thread or do something like that? What did they do here? Well, they didn't respond to it. They didn't ignore it. They didn't even lock the thread. They didn't just sort of move on. They straight up nuked the thread out of existence. It no longer exists anymore. You've got to find it via this screenshot on a completely different forum or internet archive or something. Obsidian are doing their best to rub their hands of this and just pretend it didn't happen. I don't think gamers are going to forget about this. I think there were some rumors floating around on X that Obsidian actually will not be doing anything about this. They're actually in the art director's corner, and they agree with him, and they can't believe the outrage from the chuds and actual gamers who have these concerns. Fuck them. We're right. We'll just ride this out, is what they're thinking. I don't think it's going to work. The sales numbers so far, and it doesn't mean everything in the world, but many people were dismissing the concerns about the Veilguard's performance on Steam and saying, oh, it doesn't matter that it's at number 250, number 300. Avowed is at 1611. This is absolutely panic stations for Obsidian if this continues. I still don't think that there's any world where this will be as bad and as obnoxious as the Veilguard, but it could be worse in terms of sales numbers. It doesn't have any history behind the IP. Most people don't care about Pillars of Eternity or even know Avowed is a spin-off. It's not going to help it. Numbers don't look good. Microsoft isn't going to like that. So Obsidian are going to have to turn things around fast. I'm not so sure that they can do it. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.